You're watching The Real with Mike.
Good day, everyone. I hope everyone's enjoying their holidays, having a good time, and being safe. This video, we're going to talk about some of the liberal scandals that have went on over the last couple of years, and maybe try to dig into why that happens with both parties. It isn't just liberals. Conservatives have their own scandals too. So Justin Trudeau was born 25th, 1971. That makes him one of the younger prime ministers of Canada. And he has been involved in more than one scandal. The scandals keep going on and on and on, just like the Energizer Bunny. Justin became Prime Minister of Canada in 2015. Justin Trudeau's first year was fairly calm. He had an inquiry into the missing and murdered Indigenous women in Canada. And I think it's worth noting that Aboriginal women are disproportionately victims of murder and go missing. Actually, according to the Native Women's Association, 10% of all female homicides are Aboriginal women, but yet they only make up 3% of the female population. So you can see just by those two stats that they are disproportionately targeted. Have not dug into why that is. That's not what this video is about. I just thought it was worth noting that. Justin also kept his promise to bring in 30,000 Syrian refugees at a cost to taxpayers of $6,051 per immigrant annually. Simple math. Actually, according to the Fraser Institute, in 2015, the cost was $180 million for the year. Also, a number of Justin's cabinet ministers and senior aides were caught in minor spending scandals. Now, a lot of these scandals, they get caught, they may pay it back, they may get a slap on the wrist, but nothing really comes out of it. As far as I'm concerned, if you're caught in a spending scandal, you should be fired and lose your pension. No questions asked. That would happen to anybody else in any other industry. The Liberals failed to follow through on an order by the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal to fix funding disparities for child welfare services on the First Nations. And so this is where some of this tension comes from, is the government promises Native people certain things and then they don't follow through with it. I'm not saying there's not a little bit of corruption on both sides, but I do say the government can't promise things and have no intentions of fulfilling them, and they do. In November, Justin made a comment to BBC proudly saying he left his Canadian critics in the dust. Now, I just point this out because it just kind of shows the arrogance of him. Yeah, and he is arrogant. Trudeau also advocates for legalization of marijuana. Now, he's had to do that because he had to get everybody stoned in order to get re-elected after doing some of the policies and the spending that he's done. Although Trudeau had a 57 to 64% respective approval rating in 2015. Now, at this time, the debt in Canada, 2015, was $439 billion. Now, the next scandal that come up was the Aga Khan scandal. Trudeau first got in trouble with the Ethics Commission in December 2017 when it came out that he'd broken conflict of interest rules by him and his family vacationing on the private island at Christmas, the Aga Khan Island at Christmas. The Aga Khan Foundation is registered to lobby the government. So the foundation pays the government to do backdoor deals. There's no really other way to, these foundations do good things, don't get me wrong. They advocate for AIDS and other diseases and starvation in countries. There is good that they do, but we've just opened the door for so much more corruption, and the governments have got nothing but bigger. So the more people you have, the more apt you're going to have corruption, and that's kind of where this has gone. The Aga Khan Foundation Canada was founded in 1980, where they spearheaded a report outlining funding strategies to meet the financial goals required to implement the United Nations Agenda 2030. Well, I do think over the next few months you're going to hear a lot more people talk about the United Nations Agenda 2030. There's a lot in that that's going to affect everybody. In 1991, the Canadian Border Services Agency caught Kabani, a man with the last name Kabani, smuggling money amounting to more than $1 million. The U.S. Customs border, we don't have as strict of laws as far as money leaving and entering the country. We don't have our laws aren't as strict as the states. So what the Canadian Border Agency did was notify the Americans of it, and then the Americans actually set up a sting operation on them, which led to 12 arrests from money laundering and to other minor things, but some not so minor also. So that's the problem is when a government accepts someone to lobby, accepts money from somebody, they're not supposed to have that personal connection. They're not supposed to have any more access than anybody else would. They're not supposed to have these special privileges, which they clearly do. SNC-Lavalin, the scandal there. SNC-Lavalin is a Canadian company based in Montreal that provides engineering construction for various industries like mining, oil, gas, environmental, water, and infrastructure. The charges that were alleged against SNC were bribes in Libya between 2001 and 2011. SNC paid $48 million in bribes to officials of the Muammar Gaddafi. At the same time, it was alleged that SNC defrauded Libyan organizations of $130 million. Now, if SNC were convicted, the company would be slapped with a 10-year ban on receiving federal government contracts, which would be a catastrophic blow to the company. SNC then launched a multi-year lobbying effort to persuade the Trudeau government to change the criminal code. That kind of spells it out right there. What the company should have been held accountable for is a different debate that I'm trying to put through here. What I'm trying to say is the lobbying from SNC to the government to change the criminal code in order for them to not get those criminal charges. That's what I find disturbing. That these big, rich companies can pay government to do the things that they want them to do, whether it's deregulate things so that the company's more profitable, or they can save money in this way, or get tax breaks or things like that. That's what the lobbying is what I don't like. Just days after, a Global Mail report claimed Jody Wilson-Raybould was being pressured by the Prime Minister's office to help SNC avoid criminal prosecution. Now, Jody wasn't going to fold. She wasn't going to buy into it and just do what Justin Trudeau wanted her to do. So he did a shuffle and removed her from her position, and he put someone else in that would do what he wanted them to do, what he had asked them to do. It wasn't long after that Jody quit the cabinet entirely. At the end of all this, SNC paid $280 million in fines related to their work in Libya. but they got off the 10-year restriction. They shouldn't have. This is another video of showing Mr. Trudeau's arrogance.
There's Mr. Trudeau there standing up and walking across the floor. That is a man on a mission. He accidentally elbows the young lady right in the breast and heads on back.
And somebody in the we had some connection there. The big issue with this is Trudeau and Monroe both had personal connections to the we, and were also included in the decision-making process without recusing themselves from it. So the two of them obviously have connections with the we. They didn't recuse themselves from making the decision. They put their own input in to try to influence the decision. Monroe, his daughter works for the we. His other daughter has spoken at we events. And he himself had been on road trips paid for by the we. 2017, Monroe has since paid back the $41,000. As for Trudeau and his family, they've been involved with and paid the we that they initially denied. The Trudeaus in the beginning of this denied the connection. As it turned out, though, Trudeau's mother, Margaret, had been paid $250,000 for speaking at 28 events. His brother, Alexandra, was paid $32,000 to speak at 8 events. And it might be worth noting, the we organization are also lobbyists. You're starting to see the pattern here with these companies that are all lobbyists. When they're getting caught on the way back, when the money goes back, or when the favor has to be done for the company from the government, that's where the people are getting in trouble. That's where Trudeau's getting in trouble. Now the illegal casino, and again, it's not a huge deal. It just shows some connections. In 2020, Toronto real estate developer, I believe his name is Wee, was charged after police raided an illegal casino inside a mansion. Wee had met with Trudeau at least twice in 2016. He was part of the Chinese government-endorsed industry group. A member of that delegation donated $1 million to the Trudeau Foundation and sponsored a statue of his father, Pierre. Now we go through all this reckless spending and I'm going to touch on a couple more here. But then you have a veteran at a question period asking Trudeau some questions. And this is what he says. Just watch the video.
24th, 2015. You made the promise, and I'll quote it here, "No veteran will be forced to fight their own government for the support and compensation they have earned." Yet you are still currently in a legal battle with veterans regarding equal support and compensation to their peers. You have ISIL or ISIS members coming into a reintegration program. You did a backdoor deal with Omar Khadr with not even stepping into the courtroom. So again, my question is, what veterans were you talking about? Was it the ones that fought for the freedoms and values that you so proudly boast about, or was it the ones who fought against? Because honestly, Mr. Prime Minister, I was prepared to be injured in the line of duty when I joined the military. Nobody forced me to join the military. I was prepared to be killed in action. What I wasn't prepared for, Mr. Prime Minister, is Canada turning its back on me. So which veteran was it that you were talking about?
Why are we still fighting against certain veterans groups in court? Because they're asking for more than we are able to give right now. They are asking for more than we... Well, no, hang on. You're asking for honest answers. The old Veterans Charter involved lump sum payments and very little in the way of services. We have significantly invested in services, rehabilitation, support, investments in training.
Justin can say this, but it's okay for a country to spend crazy amounts of money on things like this. $180,000 in loans and grants to bring Snoop Dogg to the East Coast to perform. Canadian Mint spent $7.3 million to make 486 million new pennies, which means each penny cost 1.5 cents. So it cost more money to make the pennies than what they were worth. The government paid, this is a good one, the government paid consultants $19.8 million or $90,000 a day to simply suggest ways to trim the budget. So they spent $9.8 million for someone to suggest ways for them to save some money. Save some money by spending some money. There's another good one. Canada Revenue Agency spent $750,000 on an ad campaign warning the public about under-the-table home renovations. This is the best part. Then they spent another $130,000 on a polling firm just to learn that the ads that cost them $750,000 were not effective. Really. Canada donates $6.1 billion a year to other countries. When will our government put the citizens of Canada first? Our debt now in 2020 is over $1 trillion. You got to give some of that to the last 2020, the COVID. But our debt was going up before COVID. Our government isn't doing anything for us. They're being lobbied by rich, powerful people, and those are the people that make the decisions. Those are the people that Trump's fighting. Gives you something to think about. I'm going to dig into lobbying a little bit more in the next video. Hope you liked, share, comment. Thanks.
There's Mr. Trudeau there standing up and walking across the floor. That is a man on a mission. He accidentally elbows the young lady right in the breast and heads on back.